So, sorry about, oh, here we go. Oh, okay. I thought I was having microphone trouble, but now it looks like my microphone is registering. So I think everything should be okay. If it is not, let me know in the comments if you cannot hear me. Otherwise, hello and welcome to day 2. Sorry, I got a little frazzled because that happens when you go to do something and it's not working the way that you thought. So last week I shared the new shoe. Okay, thank you. It does look like sound is working good, so thank you so much for that update. Yeah, so welcome to my weekly stream. I'm Erin, if you are not already familiar with who I am, and I like to make stuff. So the intention behind me starting this channel is that I am struggling to show up and prioritize my creative practice and my art practice for myself. And so starting this channel and streaming weekly is really a way for me to do that. So before I get into the project I'm working on, to recap what I'm going to be doing and getting started on my embroidery today, I would like to read a quote that is from the book The Artist's Way that I would like to open and close every stream with right now. So at the heart of artistic avoidance is the denial of process. We like to focus on having learned a skill or having made an artwork. This attention to final form ignores that creativity lies not in the done, but in the doing. And so I have to read that and constantly remember that my art is a practice, and it's not about what I complete. It's not about constantly learning something new. It's the act of doing. And having said that, as I mentioned, today I'm kind of just going to reintroduce you to the concept, show you the progress that I've made, as well as kind of the failures. So to let you know, so this is the overall concept. So I have already done one shoe that was painted, and then now I'm working on embroidering a pair of Fear of God Nikes with the spoon livery. And so let me kind of show you what I've been working on. So last week I started, I said I'm probably gonna rip this out. So I completely ripped out everything that I worked on. So fail there, but it was a good learning experience. And I since have completed this much, and this is round 4. So I started what I did on camera and I ripped it out, and then I started it again to try to figure out what's going to work best. I ripped that out. I did it one more time. I ripped that out, and now I feel that I've figured out my stitch. So for those of you that are new to embroidery, maybe don't know much about embroidery, I myself am a newbie at embroidery. So I am doing, what I'm finding is working is I am doing a combination of kind of a backward stitch as well as a chain stitch. And I have linked in the description of this live, and also it'll be in the playback, of course, the YouTube channel that I've been watching the most. It's called The Stitchery, and that is the YouTube channel I've been watching the most to learn about embroidery. So if you're curious about it, I think she has a great channel, really good tutorials, easy to follow. I just really like her style, and she does it for both left hand and right hand, all of her tutorials and instructions, which is really great depending on if you're a lefty or righty. So that was my fail. This is where I am at so far. In addition, I went back to the design, and a couple things. I realized I needed to draw on the shoe a little bit more of what the design was gonna look like. And so what's cool is my good friend who also does embroidery, I was like, but if I draw on it, I can't remove it. So she notified me that if you use an erasable pen, so I love erasable pens, but I didn't realize that it's heat that removes the ink. So I use the Pilot brand. I can always put a link down there, but that's just what I use. But what's cool is if I mess up, I can just put a hairdryer on it, and sure enough, it disappears right away. So that's given me confidence to go in and draw the design, kind of figure out where it's gonna fall. And in doing so, when I took kind of this original design, I originally had a lot more up here. But when I think about it, like, I think as I just was looking at it and I'm thinking about like the car itself and how it feels as though, like, if there's a sheet of paint that's coming down and the car goes through that sheet, right? Like, it creates the paint effect on the spoon livery. And so thinking if I'm going kind of this way as well, I like how on here it kind of, on the back part of the, if you can see my little cursor right here, that, so yeah, so here, like I can see where there is, you know, kind of like the paint pulls back. So I kind of think putting that on the toe, which is where the design is coming here, and maybe a little bit less back here. But yeah, that's where the design is. It probably will continue to change as I embroider, just because I am finding that, speaking of fails, I have a habit. I have failed with my creative process, but I learned how to do something new. And then I'm like, hey, let me try to execute it doing this super complicated thing, which this is a perfect example of it. So that's where I'm at with the shoe design. And yeah, let's see. I've also changed kind of my screen. So I have a bit of a different angle so I can be comfortable, because it's a lot more comfortable for me to hold the shoe on my lap. It hurts my neck less to be able to use the shoe propped that way and put my feet up. So that's what I'm gonna be doing if it's a slightly different angle. But let's go ahead and get into it. Before I get started, are there any questions around what I'm doing or what I've learned so far, or kind of where I'm going with things? Otherwise, I will just get started. And while I'm waiting for some questions to come in, I'm just going to get my supplies and materials on my desk. So pretty much everything on this lovely tray, which makes it very easy for me to just take it wherever I want to go. As I've been working on these around the house and sitting in different comfortable spots. So yeah, all right. Let me get my glasses on so I can see, and then we'll get started. All right, so as you can see, obviously it is a very different camera angle, but this is a much more comfortable camera angle for me as I am trying to get myself positioned so you can see the shoe as I'm working and without it jumbling around. I also added a image just to remind us of what it is we're looking at. So there we go. Follow along, ask me questions as I'm working if you're curious about anything. Otherwise, enjoy the music a bit. And brought to you by StreamBeatsby. And yeah, I'm just gonna get started. So as I mentioned, I'm using embroidery floss. I am using the There we go. I'm using the DMC brand, which is kind of the standard. And I forgot to mention, I'm doing color, it's 995 is the color. I don't know what the actual, they just do everything by number, but it's kind of like a royal blue, but it is number 995 if you are interested in exactly what color I'm using. I also, after going through, last time I was talking about the floss and using 3 strands, because as I've done a couple rounds, because of the size of the holes that I'm going into, I've actually decided to go with the full 6 strands, so that way I get kind of maximum coverage. Because also I'm in an untraditional way doing embroidery, but I can't go down and back. So typically you'll be able to reach the back side of whatever it is you're embroidering, but I'm not doing that. And so I think that is kind of influencing the weight of the string, the floss that I'm using, as well as the stitch itself. Yeah, so, okay. I pretty much start, I've been doing one where I kind of go through my whole arm and then bring it maybe over here. And so that's like how I'm measuring how long of floss I need. Which right now, this was two of those lengths. So it kind of goes to show how fast all of this is used up. Yeah. Okay. So this, if you've never used it before, this is a great little tool for threading. You put it through your eyelet, and then it just gives a much bigger hole to put your thread or whatever you're sewing or embroidering with, and then you can pull it through, and it just makes life a little bit easier. So if you're joining me and you embroider, or you're watching the playback and you embroider, and I am doing it all wrong, I apologize, because if I'm being honest, I really am making it up as I go. I'm just doing a standard knot. I'm gonna give myself a little bit of a tail because I can't keep the knot on the back side. I'm bringing in some of my crochet experience into how to hide the tail, how to kind of hide those details while still making it secure. Also, it's not really traditional maybe from any of the embroidery tutorials that I've watched, but because this is a shoe, I'm also thinking in terms of my own problem solving, like how do I make it so it's a little bit stronger, right? Like I don't want the threads to come out. Like this is a shoe that's meant to be worn. My husband is going to wear the pair of shoes, and so I don't want the stitches coming out. So these are some of the things as I'm problem solving and thinking in the creative process, like what I need to do. Okay. If I come here, great. So to get started, I just do a simple, I hook it through just a single, and then again, because I don't think this is traditional embroidery, but I'm just kind of problem solving here. But then I'm gonna take and go through equally, and then I'm gonna knot it because I don't want this going anywhere. I don't want it to fall out, you know, like I don't want the knot to pull through or anything like that. So now that I have this and I have this tail, what I can do is as I embroider, I just kind of catch this underneath and weave it back, but then it's a little bit more secure. At least that's how I'm problem solving. So, like I said, I'm doing a combination of kind of a back stitch and a chain stitch. That's what I'm calling it, but I don't think this is a real stitch, but it seems to be filling and working. And I do like how it's filling, and I think the light will catch this nicely as it goes. So far I'm pretty happy with it and everything. So there we go. Something else I learned as I was doing some of my first few layers is to watch the tension. So I'm not pulling so hard, and so it's not so tight, because I don't want it to have this like constant pressure on the stitches, and as the shoe wears, I don't want anything to be coming undone. So I'm just trying to be conscientious too of like the tautness and tightness of the stitch itself and how hard I'm pulling. You can see I'm using this to hold down and secure that knot in place as well. And then as I continue to go up, this will slowly get covered. Yeah. Maybe a little further out is better. There we go. Forgot how I was doing this stitch. just smoothing out my floss right now, because as I've been going, there's like a section here that the floss is not kind of connected, so I probably got my tension off at some point. And I want the floss to go through smooth, meaning all 6 strands have equal tension. Otherwise you'll get like an outlier single string, and then that can catch and pull, and I don't want that. Time to rethread. So why I kind of say this is like a chain stitch with a back stitch is because I'm going forward and I'm coming back, but then I'm also, rather than having the yarn on this side, I'm putting where the floss comes out on this side, so that way when I pull it through, it's creating kind of this chain effect, and I guess that's kind of why I'm calling this a hybrid backstitch chain stitch. So by having the thread on this side, when it comes down, it locks it on this side rather than it being on the outside. And I don't know, there's just something about that that I'm liking the way that that looks. So that's what I'm continuing to do. And then when I get to this section, I'm being very careful to want to follow this plastic because I want as clean of a line as possible. So you can see right here, I'm not quite up against it, but I'm having a hard time getting my needle further. I'm hoping that as I move forward, because there's a bit of a gap, I can get behind there. But I also probably have a plan to stitch around this, maybe at the very end if I really want to cover up this yellow and have like a really clean line, because it's not, yeah, from far away it's clean, but I don't know. I have a very high threshold of what I expect of my own craftsmanship. So, yeah. But I am trying to be very aware and following that line and as much as possible. So it looks like I've been at this for 20 minutes. I'm just going to restart and keep going and not take a break just now. So let's go for another 20 minutes and then I'll take a 10-minute break. At 20 minutes, this is how long do you think these shoes are gonna take me? 2 years from now. I'm just kidding. So Austin's asking, how durable will the shoe be in the areas that are embroidered? I don't know, because this is my first time doing it. However, I can make an educated guess. So in terms of strength, I'm guessing you mean like how strong will the embroidery be and will it let loose or fray over time, I'm thinking is where the question is coming from. If I'm interpreting that wrong, let me know. But if I were to answer in that way, meaning like as you wear the shoe, how durable is the embroidery going to be? Is it going to fray and everything? Because I'm going to make a prediction, and my guess in the way that I'm constructing this and how I'm problem solving is that it should be pretty strong for your casual walking around town type of use. I mean, yeah, if you wear these all the time, if you're doing really strenuous activities, if you're walking around bushes where it could catch and you're walking around anything that could be catching and snagging, then the durability will quickly degrade, I think. But in a normal situation, street wearing, showing them off, going out on town, walking around somewhere, my stitch is short enough that the intention and the goal is to have a short enough stitch so as the shoe moves, the stitch also moves with the fabric, as well as that's why I am making a knot and then looping through the knot and then covering over the strands, so that way the likelihood of something unraveling isn't going to happen. And then how I'm solving finishing the tail is I'm basically, if I have a circle, I'm kind of looping it through a couple times and then I'm tucking the tail in. And I think that in doing that, that's a pretty secure way to secure the end. And I'll show you that when I get to the end of this. I think I just wouldn't want to have a connection point, meaning where the thread is starting or where the thread is having to be tucked and ended in a very high movement point, meaning on the shoe, like, you know, usually right here on the shoe is a high movement point, as in it bends a lot. So as I'm deciding where to start a new piece of thread, that is something I'm taking into consideration. So I hope that answers the question. I feel like that was a very long answer, but it's better for me, I think, to talk through the process of how I'm thinking about why I'm choosing, making the choices I'm making as I do this, because I don't really know how it's gonna wear until it's done and we wear them for a while and we see how well they last. So that will be the key there. Great question. Thank you for asking that. This is where I go. So when I start to go backwards, I have to hook it. That's what I remember. Yeah. This is where it kind of becomes a chain. It's like this reverse chain. don't know if you can see it, but again, I'm getting these outliers on the floss. It's like it's not pulling even, so maybe I'm using too long of a piece. I don't know. Again, I just started to learn how to embroider, and then I decided to take on a massive project. Because I'd be cuckoo. Okay. Okay. I don't like where I put that stitch in, so I'm pulling it out because I didn't fill it in enough. And yeah, from far away you can't see it, but like I said, this is my process and my level of expectation of myself in terms of my craftsmanship. feel like I'm making up different stitches as I go. I'm finding ones that work better than others. Anyone who is a very seasoned and good embroiderer is probably just cringing right now at the fact that I am. Sorry. My stream might get a little bumpy just because I'm getting a signal. My internet may have dipped down a bit, so I apologize if the stream gets a little patchy here soon. My apologies in advance. As I'm getting ready to wrap up this particular work session, are there any questions for me so far, or any more questions that I can answer when I take a break here in a second? So I kind of have done, I don't know how many rows, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 maybe. So I probably have one more down before I'm finishing, but I'm gonna take a break. So let's take a break for a second. It's very important to break. Oh, my stream is back up to a good level. So I apologize for all the movement down here. I didn't think through this thing. Anyhow, yeah, so if you have any questions, I just need to take a break for a minute, stretch out my neck. It's very taxing, I think, to like have your head down and be doing this a lot. So I'm just gonna take a moment, have some tea, stretch out a little bit. You're welcome to do the same if you're sitting at your computer right now. Take a break with me. Give yourself a little bit of a stretch. So that is what I'm gonna do. And if you have any questions for me while I'm taking a break, just let me know. I find I keep a lot of tension in my shoulders, so I always try to squeeze like my elbows behind my back, and that always really helps. And the music up some, or we're just hanging out. Okay, so Austin asked, is this a question? This is a self-serving question. Austin asked, realistically, how long do I think this pair of shoes will take? I could probably do the math on it. So if this right here took me 40 minutes, because it was 2 20-minute sessions. Granted, I was talking, so let's just say 30 minutes. Then let's just say I get a ruler. Where's my ruler? Well, let's just say a centimeter. Okay, so I think I did about a centimeter's worth. You can see it. So I think I did about a centimeter's worth. So this would be 1, 2, 3. So that's 5 centimeters, but then it also gets longer. So 5 centimeters at 30 minutes. This probably so far that I've done so far has taken, I'm gonna guess 3 hours. So in total, this back section, I'm gonna guess 3, maybe 5 hours. So if I kind of visually, just without doing the math, think if this was, let's say 5 hours, I've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So I probably have, let me just say 25 hours, I'm gonna guess, per quarter shoe. So I'm saying that of like, this is half of a whole shoe. So 1 quarter, 2 quarter. Yeah, so like 1 quarter is here. This would be a 2nd quarter, and then the other shoe would be 2 quarters worth. So if I'm looking at 25 hours, so I'm gonna guess 50 hours per shoe, give or take. So then maybe 100 hours total. I'm gonna estimate it right now. Yeah, maybe 100 hours of embroidery to get the shoe. And that doesn't include me like sketching out the design on it and figuring out, no, this doesn't work. Yes, this does work. No, this doesn't work. Yes, this does work. So I would say that's probably, I don't know how many other hours that it takes me to figure that out and kind of hand draw it. I'm gonna just round up to say 5 hours, because sometimes by the time I draw it and remove it and draw it and remove it, and I have to do that 4 times and I'm not really using a template. Yeah, maybe I just round up like 120 hours in total just for the labor to make this shoe. Yeah, let's ballpark it there and see how long it really takes me. Do you think that's reasonable? Embroidery definitely is not a fast craft. It takes a while. I'm also new to it, so it's probably taking me longer than somebody who's very seasoned, who's been embroidering a long time, because it's probably much more muscle memory, how they're doing their stitch, as well as they just have more experience to be able to problem solve and know what's gonna work and not working. Yeah, and I'm not really the best two-dimensional drawing type of artist, so when it comes to drawing things, I do sometimes take a lot longer because it's not really in my nature. Yes, 100 hours. That is quite a lot. I know, 100 hours. But hey, I guess that's, you know, around a full month's worth of work. Not even quite if I'm doing 40 hours a week, which I'm not doing, but at 40 hours a week for 4 weeks out of the month, you know? So yeah, it'll probably take me a month working on this, a couple hours a day for the entire month. So thankfully I will work in the morning and the evenings and things like that when I'm not live streaming. Yep. This definitely is taking longer than the HKS shoe. The HKS shoe, which so far is my most time-consuming shoe, that took about 40 hours on my 2nd pair because I was used to it. So that was about a 40-hour make time for that shoe by the time like I was doing the stencils, and just because it was like 4 different layers of stencils layered on top of each other, and then having to go out and outline those. But yeah, this will be more than twice the amount of work, I think. I think it's fun though. I'm enjoying it. I think it's gonna look killer when it's done. I'm really excited for when it's done. I'm already starting to think about like, how do I want to do a photo shoot with them. So I'm already kind of thinking about that. I'm thinking about how do I want to photograph them, and not just like stock photography, but how can I kind of capture their essence in a photo in a photo shoot. So I'm thinking about that, as well as beyond the streaming, I have been working on kind of creating a video to tell like the story of each shoe that I'm working on. So I am also, as I'm working, thinking about that on this shoe in terms of like, what is the story I want to tell? How do I tell that story? Whether it's the history of spoon sports, a bit of the history of how like the Fair of Gods came to be. Maybe it's a story of just how my husband and I collaborated and he came up with it, and then I realize I'm talking and the music's probably really loud. you know, how maybe it's just like how we were at the museum and I saw them and I thought, oh, I could do this. And it's just us enjoying, like him sharing his sneaker culture with me and me kind of, this being the first shoe that I was like, oh, that's cool. And it kind of, this idea came from me. So I don't know. I'm thinking about all of that in terms of what stories I want to tell. So, all right, a little bit more stretch and then maybe I'll do another 20 minutes of embroidery and maybe then call it a day. We'll see. Probably will keep working tonight though. My neck is really. Okay. Good to take breaks. It's on at 100. I thought maybe I could give myself some more light. All right, we ready to start working again? Let's just start working. Position here. Is that better for you guys? There we go. Okay. Get my glasses on so you can see. Because I'm the old lady now. Yikes! I have like rollerblade wheels on my chair, which makes it much smoother, but then sometimes it's like I get a little flung. I can tell I'm getting to the end of this floss. So what I'm doing right now is I'm doing a couple back loops in on itself before I thread it back through some of this other stitching. So that way, that's how I'm gonna finish it. So that tension of it wrapping around a couple times should be enough to hold it. And then I'm just going to knot it on itself. And then take the yarn and pass it through. And then cut it. And then this guy too has been kind of cut over, so that can be cut. And there we have it. That's how I have been finishing it off. So there we go. So I'll start another one, and I think maybe I can get all the way through this section. We'll see how far I can get in another 12 minutes. Like I said, I'm using all 6 strands of floss, making a knot at the end. Okay. And I don't always want to be starting at the very end here, so sometimes I'll start so my knots are in different places. That's what I'm gonna do right now. Go through. I split it down the middle. I feel like as I go this way, I end up doing this like quasi back stitch. And then as I come towards me, I end up doing a chain stitch. I feel like that is what I'm doing right now. If I look at the stitches that I'm doing, because this feels like a back stitch. If there's any embroidery friends joining me, let me know what kind of stitch it looks like I'm doing, because that might help point me in the right direction for tutorials as I continue to problem solve. Because this is working here right now, but it's not necessarily going to be, I don't know if this stitch is going to keep working throughout the shoe. Again, I've been kind of transparent. I am figuring this out as I go. And if it doesn't work, I am more than happy to rip it out and do it again. For anybody that's just joining, welcome. I'm Erin, and I am embroidering these Fear of God sneakers with the Spoon Sport livery. And I am new to embroidery, and I decided after 2 embroidery projects to take on this idea. So yeah, it's kind of a fun process. We were discussing before, I'm gonna estimate probably by the time I'm done, it'll be about 100 hours worth of work as an estimate, but I'll try to keep a decent track and like maybe a spreadsheet of how long I'm spending. Yeah. And the idea of this came from an original shoe that you can see behind here that I made in collaboration. My husband designed it because he is the lover of cars as well as the lover of sneakers and sneaker culture. But then we were at a museum in Bosh, which is in the south of the Netherlands, at a exhibition called Sneakers Unboxed, which was a really cool history of sneakers. And I saw these in yellow, and he was telling me all about the fear of gods, and I saw, oh, they're fabric, and I thought, I started to learn how to embroider. I could embroider those. So yeah, that's kind of where these birthed from. And I am coming up on 5 hours in, give or take some, on this pair of shoes. And we're doing the whole design on all sides. So yeah, welcome. If you have any questions, let me know. Stick them in the chat. Otherwise, just hang out with me. Enjoy. Oof. Austin says, if you rip it out, I'm gonna be sad. Yeah, I won't rip all this out. I'm very happy, but what I mean is, like, if I mess up a stitch, I'm fine to like go back, pull it out, and try it again, you know? I'll get them done, I promise. You'll have some killer shoes. He's like just waiting for his new pair of shoes. I wonder if I'm gonna try something. If I go this way, if all of a sudden the stitch that I've been doing will make more sense. Maybe. Maybe that's what I need to do. I just have to turn my work like in crocheting. No? Okay. No. That didn't help. working out well. I like how I kind of feel like I'm making up the stitches, but again, I think I'm doing kind of like a back stitch, but it doesn't, nothing feels normal because I can't just directly go through and out like a normal embroidery, since the shoe already exists and I'm not pre-embroidering the fabric and then creating the shoe. So but I like how it's getting filled right now. So I guess that's all that matters, is if it gets filled properly and it's wearable, well. If there's any questions about what I'm working on, please feel free to ask in the chat. I would love to answer if you're joining. Right, so I am just gonna reset my timer and keep working. Let's see if I can finish this block and be done with one section. That would be amazing today. That would be really great if I got done with this one full section today. I was struggling there a bit, figuring out what I was doing, trying to fill in some of these gaps because my stitches are not super perfect. I'm gonna kind of iron out my floss here because I can tell it's, the strand tension is not the same. I'm liking about what I'm doing here, I'm not exactly sure what kind of stitch, but it feels like a back stitch. So you can see that I went in here. So this is my entry point. And then I have where the yarn exited here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go X amount further down, and then I'm gonna come back out at basically this point that this entered. And what I'm liking about this, and then I keep this on the outside so that the yarn as it comes through, it stays in the middle, right? And what I'm liking about doing this stitch is that it seems to be having a nice fill effect. Because again, I'm working on fabric that I'm having to hook it because I'm on a one side as I'm embroidering. So I don't know. I feel like that stitch is working well. If that was possibly the worst explanation ever as to what I'm doing, but hopefully you can see what I'm doing, and or I'm just entertaining. This line isn't too bad. I mean, I might have to come in and fill it, but not that bad, because when this presses down, pretty close. I'm pretty happy with that. I do say so myself. that's an actual proper chain stitch. Oh, that is a good filler. All right. Let's see if I can be consistent in doing that. Thank you to those that are with me here at the very end as I'm wrapping up. I realize embroidery can be probably quite tedious to watch. I don't know how fun it is. But it really means a lot that you're here and sharing this space with me. I really do appreciate it. I'm having fun showing up for myself, so yes, in the end, that is what's most important for me. Just showing up for my art practice and having fun while I'm doing it and not having such high expectations of what it is I'm trying to do or achieve, and just allowing myself to be playful, you know? So thank you for being here and sharing that space and enjoying while I, you know, make some art and practicing a little bit more playful in the way that I create. So thank you. I do appreciate it. Cool. We think I can finish this row in the next 7 minutos. where I'm at right now, because this plastic is adhered to and glued to this section of the woven fabric, I am finding like it has a different feel to it. So that's kind of why I'm struggling in terms of the stitch, because it feels different. Like I don't quite know how else to explain it other than it's much more rigid, and like how my needle, I'm able to manipulate it into the holes is different because of the tension and the glue that's here that's kind of stopping me from having like the ability to like puncture through the weave. If that makes sense. I think what's going to make most sense as I'm looking is that I'm going to try to fill this in and then work this way and fill this in. I think that's going to be how I finish up this section. That is making more sense to me. Like music is like I'm finishing. Woo! I'm really a fan of this song. Probably because those songs were not part of my original playlist. Alright, we're rounding the finish line on this section. Feels exciting. Yeah, there's definitely some glue here that you can't see because it's clear, but it covers over like probably 2 holes worth of the mesh. I'm just like making stuff up at this point. What did I just do? Okay. Well, y'all want me to finish? My clock ran out, but I don't think this yarn is going to make it. So I'm gonna go down and come back, and then I'm probably gonna have to add another one, and then I might stitch it around. So, but I can tell I'm getting tired, so it's time for me to take a longer break, and maybe I will just call it a day. So, thank you. I think I'm just gonna end up calling it a day. That was some good work. I got a decent amount done, and I'm gonna finish up tonight. So let me hook my guy here for a second. So yeah, I got a decent amount done. I'm just finishing up here. So tonight I'm gonna finish up this section, and I might end up stitching around it just to see what that looks like, but then this section will be done. So thanks for joining me, and I will be streaming again on Wednesday next week, so I'll put up the next few weeks worth of streams, but it's really just gonna be continuing to work on the shoe. But by the time you see me next, I will have moved on to a different part of the livery pattern, and I will also have made sure that this one that I've sketched may or may not make the final cut as I'm working on it, but we'll see. And so yeah, I'll probably be starting on one of these other sections, or have already started there. Yeah, thank you so much. Have a lovely rest of your day, and have a good weekend as we're coming up on that. And I will first read the quote I want to end with, so I don't forget, and then we'll say goodbye. So again, just for me to remember that this art and my creativity is a practice, I want to end again with the same quote. At the heart of artistic avoidance is the denial of process. We like to focus on having learned a skill or having made an artwork. This attention to final form ignores that creativity lies not in the done, but in the doing. So thank you for being with me today. Thank you for being with me while I problem solved and made mistakes and did all those parts of creativity, which is really what it's about, not necessarily the shoe that I am completing, but the process in getting there, and the fun in discovering and playing and wondering what will happen if I do this, and all of those things. So thank you, and I will see you next week. Okay, bye.